Hi everybody, welcome to the Matt Weston 365 YouTube channel. Today what we're going to be looking at is the multilingual capabilities of SharePoint as they have now been implemented in SharePoint Online. SharePoint Online doesn't just give us a product or a platform where we can build our communications. It gives us a platform where we can build communications with accessibility in mind. And when we talk about accessibility, we don't just talk about the impairment side or the disability side. That is extremely important. But as we've seen over the last few years, we are now starting to use SharePoint to allow global communication on a much larger scale. So accessibility now steps across those boundaries and also talks about the multilingual capabilities, about making our communications not just accessible for impairment, but also accessible across the language barrier. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and look at the actual capabilities that SharePoint has now built into it to go and handle that multilingual support. So here we are in SharePoint Online, and I'm going to demonstrate this using my crisis management template, which I got from the SharePoint lookbook. At the moment, I have no multilingual capabilities turned on this site whatsoever. The only thing that I can actually see is the English versions of my text on here. So I have to actually do some configuration on the site first of all in order to make it compatible for multilingual text. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my site information and I'm going to go and view all my site settings. So within all my site settings, under site administration, I have this option here called language settings. So if I click on my language settings, that's going to take me in, and now it's going to prompt me with, as you can see, it's now a modern type of form, where it's going to enable me to turn on the multilingual capabilities of these pages. So I'm going to turn that on. A couple of things to be aware of is that when we talk about multilingual, what are we talking about? We're talking about pages and we're talking about news that we want to translate into multiple languages. Now, what is quite misleading here is just this language which specifies enable pages and news to be translated into multiple languages. Now, sometimes that has been read as being, this is going to be done automatically. It's not an automatic process. This isn't using machine translation. This is utilizing the ability to have someone who can speak the language and can translate to provide the content that we can then display on the same page. So let's go and add a couple of additional languages in here. So I'm going to go and add, let's go and find Spanish. And as you can see, I've got a lot of different languages on here with all types of different alphabets as well. So let's go and select French. So once I have selected my languages, what I can do is actually, I can specify who is going to be doing the translation for this language. So I can then make them editors of these pages, or I can just leave it open and then anybody who's got the editing rights will be able to do this. If I click on the advanced, down the bottom, what this has now given me is the ability to override the title and description of the site as well. So it's given me some additional options that I can then utilize to really make my pages multilingual. So now that I've done that, let's just hide that and let's go and save. Okay, and I'm just going to return back to my home screen. So now that I'm back on my home screen, one of the things I'm going to point out is that I now have some additional options available on the screen. From a user perspective, what I have over on the right hand side is I have a language selector. And if I click the drop down, that will show me what available languages I have for this particular page. Now at the moment, because I haven't provided any translations, the only thing I have here is English. As an editor, what I have on the left hand side next to the new is translation. And if I click on translation, it's going to open that blade on the right hand side for me. It's going to show me what the languages are that I have available for this site. So I have Spanish and I have French, and I can go and create either individual pages, or I can select create for all languages, and that's going to create the rendition pages for me. So let's go and view one of these pages. So what I'll point out is that when I said this all happens on the same page, that's not quite true. What actually happens is that within the Site Pages library, we now have a folder created in there for us, which is going to contain the content for that particular language rendition. So if you look up here in the address bar, I have Site Pages, I have /es for España, for Spanish, and then I have the name of the page. So if I was to switch to the French version, I would have /fr. So that is generally how the renditions work. It's creating multiple copies of that page that I can then apply the actual translations to. But even though I'm currently in Spanish, as you can see, everything's still in English. So I need to provide those translations here. And to do that, I need to edit my page. And so what I will end up doing here is then replacing some of this text with the Spanish translation. So I've just, apologies if anybody's watching this who speaks Spanish, I've just taken this from Bing Translate. So I can put some Spanish in there. And as well as doing text, I'm also going to come and change some of my web part titles. So then once I've provided all the relevant translations, I can then go and press publish. So now I'm just going to return home. So what I have now is I have my English version. Now if I look in my top right corner, I can see my English version. French is still in draft because I've not provided that translation yet, but because I'm an editor, I can see that I can see the draft in the available languages. And I can also see Spanish. So then when I click Spanish, then it will load the Spanish version of the content for me. So I'm still in the same site, it's still adhering to my branding. However, I'm now providing that translation to all of my Spanish speakers. And realistically, that's all I need to do in SharePoint now to get up and running with multilingual versions of my pages. So that is a brief overview of one of the newest features that has rolled out to SharePoint Online, the ability to have those multilingual renditions of our content within and being able to change within the context of the page that we're looking at the time. What this means for the future of our content creators, though, is that we either now need to start creating renditions of our pages and using translation software in order to create those translations and therefore those renditions, or we now need to start looking at how we can get people who are native to that particular language to take some responsibility for creating the correct translations for that content so that you can get the most from the SharePoint platform. So quite simple to achieve, but potentially a little bit more work going forward. But I think the benefits of it far outweigh that little bit of effort because, as I said earlier on, that accessibility now steps across the language barriers as well as being continuing to cater for the visual impairment that we actually see within SharePoint. So I hope that was useful. If you do have any questions, please do feel free to reach out, post a comment on the video, or you can reach me on Twitter at mattweston365, and I'll be happy to give you any help or any guidance that I possibly can. But until next time, take care, and we'll speak again soon.